Hi guys, my name's Lucy Civils. I'll be presenting my article today. I just wanted to let you know that I'm sorry I could not be in class today. I am very sick, so I will have to do my presentation via video. All right. Thank you for bearing with me. So let's go ahead and start my presentation. So I did my article on catching a smile from individuals and crowds, evidence for distinct emotional contagion processes by Qureshi and colleagues this year. Okay, so for our introduction today, what Qureshi and colleagues wanted to do was to analyze how individuals understand crowd emotions, and they did this via 5 studies. So essentially, they're studying how people react to crowds, where number one, everyone shows the same emotion, homogeneity versus crowds where people show different emotions, otherwise known as heterogeneity. So the researchers had 5 studies and they specifically had 4 predictions. So, study 2 and study 4 focused on different emotions within the crowds, and study 1 and 3 focused on same emotions within the crowds. So, for prediction 1, the researchers were analyzing if people would catch emotions from crowds showing the same emotion. For prediction 2, negative emotions would grab people's emotions stronger than positive emotions. Prediction 3, the more attention people paid to the crowd, the more likely they are to catch the crowd's emotion. And for study 4, when crowds showed mixed emotions, people's emotional responses will be less clear cut than when crowds show a single emotion. So, essentially, in simple terms, they're trying to see if crowds can pass on emotions to individuals, whether negative emotions would be more powerful, and how mixed emotions in the crowd might affect people differently than one single emotion. And I wanted to mention for study 5, they did not pre register study 5 within the OSF project website, but study 5 was more of a conclusive add on for study 1 through 4. So here we have our independent variables and our dependent variables. So the researchers' independent variables specifically were that the emotions shown by the crowd, happy, neutral, or sad, and which part of the crowd the people were looking at, so the foreground or background characters. And the dependent variables consisted of how long people looked at different parts of the crowd, otherwise known as dwell time, self reported emotional state, and self reported emotional intensity. And they measured these variables by specifically dwell time. They compared how long people looked at different parts of the crowd, showing different emotions. For emotional state and intensity, they compared how people rated themselves on the Likert scale 1 to 5. And finally, they also looked at how these different measurements related to one another. For method, they used a virtual reality program. And this consisted of virtual crowds showing the happy, neutral, and sad emotion. And the virtual reality characters did not show facial expressions, but moreover used body movements. And as mentioned previously, the crowds were consisting of 2 types: homogeneous, showing the same emotion, and heterogeneous, showing mixed emotions. The researchers had a total of 36 participants. And interestingly, I wanted to add that each participant was given €6 to complete the study, and all 5 studies were completed within 2 weeks of each other, and concluded of 72 sessions total. So here is the study's design, specifically the happy, sad, and neutral emotions. This is what the participants saw. And the process went as followed. So each participant watched 27 videos total, with the three emotions, happy, neutral, and sad, represented 3 times. Every video lasted 15 seconds, had no audio, and the different crowds expressed various emotions. Following each video, participants rated their personal emotions on a Likert scale from 1 being sad all the way to happy at 5. So let's get into the results section. So here I have a figure represented by the article. And what this figure is showing is that people spent more time looking at the foreground characters than the background characters for all emotions. And we can see this in the legend for foreground in the darker color and background in the lighter color. So for foreground characters specifically, people looked longer when the crowd was happy compared to when they were sad. And the opposite happened for background characters. So specifically, people looked at sad background characters more than happy background characters. Here we have more continued results. So specifically, hypothesis 1 was the only hypothesis supported. So to refresh your memory a little bit, hypothesis 1 was that people will catch emotions from crowds showing the same emotion. And the results concluded that participants reported feeling happier while witnessing cheerful crowds and unhappier when viewing sad crowds. And this is supported throughout the researchers' analysis of the facial muscles within their electromyography responses. Now, for hypothesis 2 and 3, they were not supported. And to refresh your memory again, hypothesis 2 was that negative emotions in crowds will grab more attention and have a stronger effect on people's feelings than positive emotions. So, actually, the opposite happened. People were more gravitated towards the happy characters than the sad. And this also affected their emotional moods more when there was happy characters opposed to sad. And to refresh your memory once again for hypothesis 3, the study showed that the more attention people pay to the crowd, the more likely they are to catch the crowd's emotion. However, this was not true. The researchers discovered no obvious relationship between attentional dwell and self-reported mood, and this implying that direct attention is not required for crowd emotional contagion to occur. And for study 4, there were no conclusive results, so I did not include that in the results section for this presentation. And I wanted to discuss a little bit of the limitations that I saw within this study. So people feel emotions differently, and this could definitely affect the study's results, as well as there were more women than men. And obviously, women feel emotions differently than men. So, if there were more men in the study could have altered results. As well as there were limited emotion types within the study. So, the study mainly employed happy and sad, as well as neutral emotions. If there were any other emotions, such as anger or fear, this might sway the study's results. As well as there were no facial expressions on the virtual characters, which could definitely sway the study's results. And adding facial expressions might affect how people respond to the crowds. And here are my references. And thank you very much for joining me today. And I'm sorry I could not be there. Have a good day.